have not been to Minnesota in probably 20 years.
Bring gas. Welcome to Flagrant Howls, a Minnesota Timberwolves lifestyle podcast.
Feedback Friday edition here of Flagrant Howls. This is kind of the calm before the offseason storm. And actually, the first question kind of pertains to what we saw last night. Pacers, for the fourth time in these playoffs, coming out of nowhere with a win probability of less than 2.5% to win a game. 4 times in the playoffs, they've been 2.5% or less to win. And then Halliburton does his Halliburton thing, and the Pacers do their manic, chaotic. That's the best team in the NBA, down by 10 with chaos and like a minute and a half or 2 minutes left.
On the road in that building, too.
Yeah, on the road, just crazy Oklahoma City fans. So we'll get to all sorts of things Wolves related here, including the first ever. I think this is the first ever Flagrant Howls anonymous tip line submission.
Ooh, it is. I saw it, and we have definitely never. I don't think so. It's always stayed on one show. I feel like it's a spinoff now.
It's always like the Purple Daily anonymous tip line has been juicy for 2 or 3 years.
Yep.
Listen, the inbox is open for any team, any show, and it just so happens that someone sent us a really interesting anonymous tip, grain of salt, and we'll read it in a second. 2 things real quick here. Number 1, if you consume Flagrant Howls on YouTube, this will be the last episode that we post on the SKOR North YouTube channel. Not the last episode, period. Judd was like, whoa, monumentous.
You got to get a job.
Oh, Friday news dump.
No, this is the last episode on the SKOR North YouTube channel because we've created a new separate standalone YouTube channel for Flagrant Howls YouTube episodes. And starting next week, Monday, I think we're going to have like 4 episodes next week, just leading into draft season and free agent season, trade season. Flagrant Howls on YouTube, youtube.com/@Flagrant Howls. You can also just find a direct link. Declan's been putting them in the description of these episodes. So thank you to the 1,500 people that have already clicked that subscribe button before any episodes are posted there. We want that to be the community for you guys, Flagrant Howls listeners and viewers, and just Timberwolves fans in general. So thanks for supporting our new channel. And Judd, thank you to the audience for supporting our sponsors like MSP Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
Absolutely true. And guess what, folks? Summer is coming. It's getting hot now, right? And so it's incredibly important that you make sure that your AC is functioning well. I'm talking about, and I'm not talking about functioning, period. I'm talking about functioning well. If your AC is struggling to cool the house, showing signs of wear or tear, and you just need a quick checkup for it, $49 for an AC tune-up. No-brainer for a peace of mind. Also, MSP is partnering with the Open Door, which is a hunger relief organization providing food to more than 20,000 people a month. MSP will be collecting brown paper bags during their HVAC and plumbing calls. The bags are used to distribute food to neighbors in need. So when you book your appointment with MSP, you can unload all those paper shopping bags that are sitting by your refrigerator right now. You're like, these are a pain in the butt. They are going to help people in need. Just give them a call at MSP 651-615-4292 or check out their website. Call MSP.com. MSP Plumbing, Heating, and Air, helping cool your house and also helping the community.
Let's start with the Flagrant Howls anonymous tip line here. I think usually on Purple Daily we might make you sweat it for like 15 or 20 minutes, but damn it, let's come out of the gate here.
You're nearly due, by the way. That is correct.
This is from Anonymous. Hello, Flagrant Howls crew. Wanted to send this message via the anonymous tip line, so please keep this anonymous.
You do a very good job of that too, hiding identities.
Very good.
So
I'm reading what's on that prompter.
So like if it's signed T. Conley, I would never know.
This is for it's odd. This is from C. Runch. C. Runch? I don't know. I have a really good friend who knows someone with a connection to the Wolves front office. Okay, so this is anonymous emailer. How many steps away from the core source here are we? So it's an anonymous emailer who has a friend who knows someone with a connection to the Wolves front office. I think we're 4 or 5 degrees of separation, somewhere in there.
It's like we're in the office right now, as far as I'm concerned.
Isn't this like is it the Kevin Bacon thing where everyone is like within 6 degrees of separation of Kevin Bacon?
Yes, correct.
Maybe Kevin Bacon's the source.
My favorite Kevin Bacon movie, A Tie Between All of Them.
So this person anonymously texted our Wolves group chat and said that this member of the Wolves front office said the Wolves are actively talking with the Grizzlies about a Ja Morant trade.
Interesting.
As you might expect, this is throwing me completely off guard, and I'd love to hear you guys speculate on what it might take to get Ja Morant and what the Wolves would look like with Ja Morant on their team. Thank you guys, and love the content on Flagrant Howls. So I guess we'll start with 1 to 10 scale of believability with the anonymous tip line note here. 1 being, nah, this is ridiculous, way too far-fetched. 10 being, oh yeah, there's definitely some smoke here.
What was the exact wording again? That they're talking?
Yeah, here it was. Again, this is the Flagrant Howls anonymous tip line.
Purple Daily. Ja Morant, he ain't coming to be a Viking. Yep.
So the vernacular here was that he texted the Wolves group chat and said this member of the Wolves front office said the Wolves are actively talking with the Grizzlies about a Ja Morant trade.
Well, okay, so do I think Tim Connelly talks to a bunch of people about, executives about potential trades? Absolutely. Do I think that means that they're far down a road for one? Absolutely not. But just on the surface of this, I would say it's a 4. I'm buying there's calls made, and I do think that the Grizzlies are shopping him, and we can certainly talk about what the interest would be, because I have some strong opinions on that. But I'd put this at a 4. Totally could see it.
Okay.
I think with Tim Connelly and where he likes to shake things up, I don't think you can really say anyone that they're calling on is like a 1 or a 2, because he's going to facilitate calls and he's going to explore all options. So believability, it's like a 5 for me. It is like a 5. Realistically, if I can pull a Judd and change your question into a question to you, I think it's like a 2. I think it's like a 2.
Oh, yeah.
I'm firmly with Declan on this, in that anything involving a conversation with another team about a trade or a superstar that you think is hogwash, it's a 9. Tim Connelly is 100% having these conversations. 100%. But if you look at some of the other teams like Boston and Derek White and some of that fun speculation, or Cleveland and Darius Garland, Phoenix and Kevin Durant, those 3 teams that I just mentioned all have major motivation to trade big salaries or to reduce the amount of money that they have toward the aprons. Boston, Cleveland, and Phoenix are all above the second apron going into the summer, and they're looking to get out of that second apron. And so it makes sense. Okay, Durant makes $55 million. If they could trade him and bring in somebody younger who makes less money. Memphis is interesting because when everyone was Memphis, when everyone's healthy, is a really good team. Mm-hmm. Of course, they fired their coach and they melted down in the second half of the season. And there's been a lot, the Ja suspension a year ago. And just Ja tends to be a guy he's a small guard who's not a great shooter. He's a ball of energy. He's a great scorer in the regular season. I think sometimes when you grind into these playoff series, you can game plan a guy out who can't make a 3-pointer, a guy like Ja. So I worry about that a little bit. But Memphis actually is in a great spot cap-wise. So they don't have any inspiration to move off of a bloated contract. Ja Morant, by the way, he's in his mid-20s, scheduled to make $39.5 million next year, $42 million, and then just under $45 million in 2027-28. So it's if you're looking for a point guard initiator of offense that can carry the scoring load next to Anthony Edwards, this conversation makes some sense. What would it take? You'd have to cobble together $35 or $40 million in $40 million in salaries and value to go to Memphis for a really good star guard. So I don't know. I'd have to figure out, is it just a direct trade with Memphis? Is it a 3-way trade? I don't think I'm with Declan. It's like a 2 in terms of will it actually happen? But I do believe that they are having conversations with all these teams about possible options to pair next to Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, and I do think that the Grizzlies are probably trying to at least have exploratory talks about what they could get back. My interest is zero. I have no interest. If I was running a fantasy league basketball team where I didn't care about the actual people, I just cared about their stats, I'd probably love to have Ja. But when you think about the baggage here already, and do I want to put him in a locker room with Ant, who has his, like, he's had some immature things, but certainly nothing like dastardly, like in big trouble. No. So I have, like, there's options here, and a player like that, if he was on his best behavior, which, by the way, he wouldn't be being traded potentially if he was. But if I'm Tim Connolly, I certainly have the discussion, but I have no interest in putting him in my locker room.
3 years ago, if you were to ask me, are you interested in Ja Morant? I think he's on a hand. Like, it's on one hand of guys I'd be like, oh my God, absolutely. Yeah. But the stuff that's come out with him and the guns and just in general, no.
The grenade. I mean, you'd have a couple great, but your backcourt would have a great tandem celebration. One guy's like rolling fake grenades and covering his ears. The other guy's got kind of
it and covers his ears.
What's funny is Anthony Edwards clearly has like a semi-automatic gun celebration too, where he kind of like loads up his arm. But we only focus on Ja. So, all right. Also, like, Ja has never played more than 60. Well, he played 67 games as a rookie. Since then, even if you take out the year he was suspended for 25 games, he's good for missing 20 to 25 games every single year. Yeah. Because he's like, he drives into the trees, gets knocked on his ass. He's like, it's a physical style. He's going to be 26 years old, but he feels like the type of guy that's going to Derrick Rose, these guys who just flame out because they're just constantly going into the trees.
I also have a new rule. No more parents.
Yeah, Team Morant.
Now, Halliburton's dad, I think I might waive that for, but
stay up in the suites.
It
can stay in the suites.
Exactly, but I'm just saying, no more courtside parents. I'm done with that. This is the NBA. You're all adults.
You know how with our Twins players, we always have to Google the injury once we say a trade candidate? For NBA trades going forward, we have to Google dad or parents, just to make sure where do they stand on the ridiculous scale.
Yeah. Wyatt C says, daily watcher of your guys' podcast, just want your opinion on this one. If the Wolves do get rid of Rudy Gobert, as we've floated all sorts of ideas, who do they run out there for the starting center then in 2025-26? Not trying to hate on Rudy, but it says a lot when a guard switches on to him and nobody looks to get him the basketball. I think a Miles Turner type guy who can stretch the floor, hit some threes, but also block shots, would really put this offense to another level. Appreciate the content that you guys are throwing at us. What I've kind of been saying the last week is what the Pacers do to the Oklahoma City Thunder or not, or how they match up with Oklahoma City, could help you with your blueprint. Because OKC is going to be formidable for like the next 5 or 6 years with their cap situation, their assets, their just roster construction. And last night, I mean, it looked for a while, the first half, Oklahoma City controlled it. It was a turnover fest. It was a slot fest. It was very much an Oklahoma City type game. But then the speed, the pace, the shooting, the spacing of the Pacers, where it's guys flying around and it's Tyrese Halliburton in space operating and getting things going. And by the way, they can, like, the Pacers go into these stretches where they can play some defense without a Rudy Gobert type necessarily. Kind of your classic like rim protector, but Miles Turner can block some shots and protect the rim too. So I would just say that the Pacers blueprint is really interesting. If you're looking to give Anthony Edwards more space, then you probably can't have Rudy Gobert a part of this thing for the next 2 or 3 years. They've been kind of hedging, like the Wolves have a great defensive team the last 2 years, largely because of Rudy Gobert. But it does take away from what they can do offensively, and it does put some shackles on Anthony Edwards.
And as we discussed a couple of days ago, I think the other really important factor in the Gobert discussion is the declining play. Yeah. And to me, where's the cliff? Because like it feels like we're seeing him go towards the cliff. He's definitely not off it yet, but I would rather sell before he goes off of it than be stuck because once he a player of that size and what he's good at, once he goes off a cliff, it's done. So like I am more. I think I'm more obsessed with cutting bait now based on one, he played well. He got you a lot. Like you partly turned your franchise around because of what he provided, especially obviously defensively. But the other is now if you're going to continue to get the declining statistics that we saw in some of the key areas this season, and then it's going to be next season, that's where I get concerned about, okay, this might be time to pull the plug.
And by the way, like, I don't think it's a necessity that you move on from Gobert. I do think there's questions about how far can you go with a declining Gobert taking up a lot of minutes, but he does still provide a ton of defensive value. So it is a nuanced conversation. But the fact that he makes a lot less money starting in 2025-26 makes the whole thing more palatable. I also think with his age, his salary reduction, you even saw this down the stretch in the playoffs and regular season, it's easier to say, hey, this is a 23-minute Rudy game versus this obligation when he was a Supermax player at age 30 to play him 35, 36 minutes every night and have your entire identity based around Gobert. So there's more leeway in this discussion, whether he stays or whether you decide to trade him, I feel like. And by the way, there's other ways to other teams play great top 10 defense without Rudy Gobert. So they still, even if they have Jaden McDaniels and Anthony Edwards, these perimeter defenders, there are ways to Jalen Clark. Like there's ways to play great defense post Rudy Gobert. So Christoph Corner chimes in here and says, speaking of Jaden McDaniels, some thoughts on the availability of Jaden in a potential trade. He's often referred to as one of the best perimeter defenders in the league. I was wondering how to quantify that. Are there any advanced metrics to show this quality? Other than that, from a 40,000-foot view, one would think a guy like him could limit SGA in a conference finals series at least a bit, but SGA still averaged over 30 points per game in that series. I know they rotated his coverage, but shouldn't we expect more from Jaden McDaniels in those crucial games against guys like SGA before crowning him a defensive all-star? Another way to phrase this would be, do you think Jaden McDaniels is overrated?
Wow. A lot of times that depends on the month, the game, the week, because there have been times where when he shows his value, which when Julius was out, he really did, there is no question he is a core piece of your foundation now and long term. There are other times when he goes to become, as we've discussed a lot, a corner 3-point guy, and it's like, okay, what's the contribution really? Because you're not that good at that job. So there are certain days he is. There are certain days he's not. I still think he is young enough that I would like to explore the upside there. And I also don't think that it's a reach to say that he should improve too. Like, yes, defensively, offensively, are there things that he can improve at? Absolutely. Would I just flat out say he's overrated though? Just as a statement, a blanket statement? I think that's pretty harsh.
Yeah, I'll piggyback off that. I feel like he's still untapped. I think like if you're just looking at the numbers, right? He averages 12 points a game and finally discovered how to rebound in the second half of the season. There's so much more beneath the surface, and as I've alluded to, I feel like for the last month trying to defend Jaden McDaniels here, when Julius Randle went out, and they leaned on Jaden to play the 4 and even sometimes the 5 with some of these smaller lineups and said, all right, you're going to be out there, smaller lineups, and you're going to be featured offensively more than just standing in the corner. And he was like averaging almost 20 points a game. He had a run of double-doubles. Like he came into the year with was it like 4 double-doubles or something in his career? And there was a stretch where every other game, every third game, he was pouring in a double-double because they put him in a spot to be featured more. And I would also point to I do have a metric on the defensive. I'm going to come back to that part of the emailer's question here. But as an offensive force, he's not a great 3-point shooter, but he's kind of like a league average-ish 3-point shooter throughout his. He's like a 35% 3-point shooter who also has one of the best conversion rates at the rim. And he's one of the most efficient, effective mid-range offensive players in the league, that like 10 to 16-foot range. According to Basketball Reference, Jaden McDaniels in 2024-25 shot 54% from the 10 to 16-foot mid-range. So when they allow him, and that's sometimes I love when he passes up the open corner three, because defenses kind of want him to shoot threes. They'll kind of live and die with it. I love sometimes when he passes it up to get 10 feet further in and gets that little mid-range shot off, because that's automatic for him. On the defensive metric side, I'll just tell you broadly, according to NBA.com's defensive stat database, that he is in the 90th percentile last year among all individual defenders in win shares per game. So and it's not just I think the way this question was phrased is like Jaden on SGA. It's not really like that in the NBA where you're going to slap the floor and it's going to be me defending you. It's more about, guys are getting switches. It's more about your defensive scheme. And yeah, like individual matchups play into that. But Jaden as a help side defender, Jaden as a rim protector, it's not just about can he individually shut down SGA. Like there's a handful of scorers in the NBA, Jokic, SGA,
right,
that are like they're going to get their shots off. They've got ways to shoot that little fadeaway mid range where it's like even Rudy's not going to block it at 7 foot whatever.
I think it's fair to say this: could he be more consistent? Yes.
Yeah, but
like
some of that I feel like is pecking order too. It's like
yeah. But I mean, to come out and say, well, he didn't do this in this particular series, therefore he's tradable because I think is too far. Would I like to see more consistency and a defined role that he understands? Yes.
I don't know if I'm jumping the gun in some of this Feedback Friday stuff, but the Ringer released their updated NBA player rankings this week. And Jaden McDaniels, and they, by the way, they show how far each player has risen from the year of 2025. So just from January through right now. So Jaden on January 16th, when they did their first rankings of 2025, was the 92nd best player. After this playoff run, he has climbed all the way up to 66. So he has climbed up significantly. And during the playoffs, he had a net rating differential that swung up 18.1 points per 100 possessions when he was on the court compared to when he was off it. And I think when you saw him in the post, like he was easily probably their most consistent player throughout this postseason, at least one of them. I am much more intrigued keeping him around, and I don't want to say he's untouchable, but I would be potentially disappointed, I think, if they moved on from him.
Yeah, I think the only player that I would entertain it for is Giannis. And even then, it's like, okay, well, Giannis is 30 now and very expensive. So if you're going to trade Jaden plus other assets, like what does Giannis, Ant, and whatever's left, minus Jaden, minus probably Randall or Gobert, is that enough? Another thing on Jaden, something clicked with him early January where he became a more aggressive rebound. Well, Tim Connelly went to him at one point and kind of chided him for rebounding. Like, dude, you're 6'10" or 11.
He was really passive for a long period of time. It felt like until Julius got hurt, he was sort of just passive at times, which he shouldn't be. He needs to be active.
But like starting in kind of early mid-January, I mean, hell, even like late December, he had a double-double on December 29th. So many games of 8 rebounds, 12 rebounds, 10, 13, 10. From the last 45 games of the year, from like the second week in January, he averaged 14 points a game on 52% from the field. And he averaged 7 rebounds. And that's like, a lot of those points are kind of cleaning up scraps or late in the shot clock. Mm-hmm. So there's just like, again, some of it's pecking order and just what they're asking him to do. And some of it, to Judd's point, is just being more assertive and aggressive and just doing your Jaden thing. But I just feel like if you were to trade him away, like if you were to go to like the Bucks or whoever, or you made a mistake and you traded him in a Durant trade, he would go somewhere. If somebody said, all right, you're going to be our third scoring option and we're going to we're going to give you free reign to shoot the ball 15, 16, 17 times a game, he would score like 18, 20 plus points. He'd grab up. He would be. Times.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. I think the most important thing is I think we all agree that he should not be part of a potential Durant package.
Yeah. There's a couple Durant things in here we'll get to. Shout out to Neos Elite Performance, by the way. Maybe you're an aging athlete. Maybe you don't, at age 37, maybe you don't feel quite like you did when you were 27 living in Oklahoma City. What should you do about that, Judd?
Oh, I've got the perfect response because I have the folks at Neos Elite Performance on my side because they're going to be on your side to get you back on the court, back on the golf course, back on the field, doing what you love, cutting-edge regenerative medicine and cellular IV therapy designed to get you going again. Here's the best part, folks. No invasive procedures. It's delivered to your home. In other words, they come to you and they get you back to doing what you love, reduce the pain, restore the function. If you just reference our flagship show, Purple Daily, you're going to get $500 off a cellular IV therapy treatment. $500 off to feel good again. Are you kidding me? No surgery, no downtime, just results. NeosElite.com, N-E-O-S Elite.com to get you back in the game.
Also, a Safe Side Barbecue powering this Feedback Friday on Flagrant Howls today.
Oh, Safe Side Barbecue, absolutely outstanding. It is, as I've been talking about, the best barbecue, the brisket right there in the West Metro. Yeah, play that howl because that howl is fantastic because Safe Side is absolutely fantastic. Look at the bread there. By the way, all handmade, all homemade, all handmade, all fantastic. You cannot beat it. Now you're saying, okay, Sports Day, that's great, but how am I going to find it? And I'm going to tell you right now, it's this simple. Go to their Facebook page, find their location, and here's the best part too. So when you get out there, you do not have to go into the establishment that Safe Side is at. Oh, no. You just can buy it, go home, whatever you want. But I'm telling you, when you get good brisket in this town, you better take it, and Safe Side Barbecue provides it. Thank you very much.
That's right. Okay, Tim here. I'll give you one KD one. We did a bunch of KD stuff earlier in the week, too, if you want to go back and catch up on episodes. But Tim says, would you please stop it with the KD talk? He's old. He's too old. He's injured. He's past his prime. He's not that good anymore. He's going to be injured most of the time he plays here. Why would you trade for Kevin Durant? He's not the same Kevin Durant. So quit delusioning yourself. Delusioning. That's a real word. Delusioning,
right?
Tricking yourself into thinking he's going to be any good here. He's going to be injured the whole time, yada, yada, yada. He's a selfish player. He just destroyed the Phoenix Suns. This is what he does. Do you think it's more likely that if let's say the Wolves pull a Kevin Durant trade and it's a reasonable swap, you're not giving up Jaden. Do you think, even if the Wolves pull that trade on their terms, is KD going to be more of a franchise coach killer or the final piece that leads the Wolves to the NBA Finals?
Oh, boy. Well, first of all, let me be clear, okay? I personally am not pushing for this trade. Anthony Edwards loves him. They tried to trade for him as recently as the deadline in February, okay? So I feel like this is there an opposite of reckless speculation? Because I feel like KD is more of be prepared for this. I would not make this trade personally. I don't know that they, I am concerned that door 2, Phil, that you just broached might be true, that it might not work. And now Chris Finch, you got some problems. I have trepidation about this. Let me just say that, depending on the price, especially. Like if it is Jaden McDaniels, they don't have a lot of draft picks to give up. So it's going to have to be players. But as far as the deluding, whatever it is, of ourselves,
Fooling,
I think this
tricking,
bamboozling. I think this is more of a conversation we have to have because of the possibility.
Yeah, it's definitely going to linger, and we'll do when we get to layest Wolves news early next week. There's going to be a lot more stuff. I feel like every day there's like 3 new Kevin Durant related reports. There's like 5 or 6 teams that were apparently kicking the tires fairly aggressively at the trade deadline. The Wolves were one, the Rockets, the Spurs, the Knicks. We'll see if other teams pop up, but yeah, like this is for sure a conversation. And also, I think it was Shams that had this a couple days ago, that the Phoenix Suns are looking to trade him by draft night, essentially. Like it sounds like they want to get, if they're going to get draft capital, they'd like it to be for like this year's draft, which is
Sure.
which is pretty loaded.
Yep.
And that is less than 3 weeks away. So this could all escalate pretty quickly. I would say right now, of the players we've kind of kicked around here, let's take Giannis off the board, because that's a total pipe dream. There's been zero
reckless.
actual.
That's reckless and fun.
That's just us.
Yeah.
Right.
But I love that one.
Although Paul Pierce. Paul
Yeah.
Pierce.
Well, he just pointed something out that's true. He didn't really have. But anyway, I love that one, but I do think that the Durant one is real.
I'll promise this for the debut of the Flagrant Howls YouTube channel content next week. Just for fun, I will workshop a multi-team Giannis to the Wolves trade, and we can bandy it about just among friends here. Okay. But I would say among the names like the Darius Garlands, the Kevin Durants, I think, and I don't know if the Celtics are going to trade Derek White. I think there's other players, if they're looking to shed 25 or 30 million, I think there's other players I would look to move before Derek White. But if they move Derek White, I would probably put him number one of all the players we've discussed. He could sit there and be the starting point guard, combo guard next to Anthony Edwards. He's a winner. He defends. He hits shots. They have Olympic team chemistry together. Just all of those things. And also, he has a unique background of playing for two of the smartest basketball operations in the NBA before the age of 30, 31. San Antonio Spurs coming up as a player, and then Boston Celtics. So he got the Popovich, basketball IQ, and now the Brad Stevens, Boston Celtics stuff too. So, Drew Johnson says, last couple minutes here of Feedback Friday, 2 questions about the ownership change, which should be official sometime either later probably by the end of June, it sounds like. Next week, financial meeting. 3rd week in June, it sounds like the Board of Governors vote. And then a press conference at some point. With the new A-Rod and Laurie group rumored to bring back the tree jerseys for the classic jersey, like the late 90s tree trim jerseys.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on that direction for the classic jerseys? Are you in on bringing the tree trim back?
Oh, yeah.
Love
I'm in on old school stuff. I love old school stuff. It's my belief that rarely do teams improve. Like, I usually like your old jerseys, your old look. There's a few, I should say, not a lot. There's a few old school looks that the Wolves have used and can use that I like. And if it's the trees, yes, I absolutely applaud that.
Yeah, I think like through their first 18, 20 years, they were all. It was post KG when they went to like those ugly jerseys. Like they had a run. Not only were they one of the worst team in the NBA for a good stretch, they probably had one of the worst uniform combos for a long time in the NBA. I love the trees. I love the old school blue. Yeah, I'm all for that. I had a KG jersey and I had a Sam Cassell trees. I had the black with the tree trim like around. Yes, the big ball Sam Cassell dance when I was 12 years old, which I still do in the living room today at 32 years old.
Honey, I loaded the dishwasher.
She mimics it. She mimics me all the time. Like, oh, you're gonna do the dance. You're gonna do wait for watching Vikings or Wolves or a big moment happens. Wow.
Took France, the trash out and mowed the lawn. That's right. That's right. You can't touch me. And then the second part of Drew's question is, with the talk of arenas and the like, I think we need for the Wolves culture and experience to be featured with whatever this new arena looks like. So he is suggesting timber trees and a giant walk-through entrance similar to the swinging doors of US Bank Stadium, northern lights in a high ceiling profile throughout the new arena.
Wow.
Utilizing a glass roof similar to US Bank Stadium, keep restaurants and other options for entertainment facilities at the complex. I feel Minnesota needs to find a way to connect to the stadium in a way that US Bank Stadium does for Vikings fans. Yeah, what would you want to see in a new Wolves arena?
You won't get a glass roof, I can tell you that.
The sun beaming in your eyes as you line up for a three-pointer.
Derek White's trying to bring the ball down the court. He's blinded by he falls down, balls loose, Wolves lose. I mean, there's a lot. There's so many things now because Target Center is so old. And I keep saying, well, but they made improvements. Yeah, they made the concourse bearable as opposed to completely crappy. The interior, I mean, there would be more suites, more clubs. I'm trying to think. I do like the idea of using your franchise's character, though, like to have a look.
Yeah.
And Timberwolves is a great name. Like that comes back to my problem. The Wild's a crappy name. Timberwolves is a great name. It doesn't have a lot of history, unfortunately. That's great, but
is the Wild the most vague,
generic,
ambiguous name in all of professional
don't get me
sports?
started. I'm just saying.
The Wild.
I'm trying to say the Timberwolves. I'm congratulating them. You've got something to hang your hat on, so your building could actually have elements of your team.
Yeah. Someone else emailed in and said there's an area somewhere up, like on the top level of Target Center, one of the stairwells up, like in one of the corners, and they still have like a giant Andrew Wiggins painting or mural or something.
Where?
I've not seen this with my own two eyes, but somewhere in one of the forgotten about corridors of Target Center.
I gotta take a swing up there. I gotta find that.
Well, you may think that it's just like
Christian
it's
Laettner.
unkept. It might be a mural for the legendary career that Andrew Wiggins had.
It's got Laettner, J.R. Ryder on it.
Wes Johnson. Yeah.
Oh man, that'd be fantastic. Stacey King.
We should do it. Come on, some self-awareness here. That's what I want in the new arena. I want a self-aware celebration of Timberwolves draft busts. I want a 2009 draft mural. Let's celebrate
Rashad McCants.
the worst moments in franchise history. Rashad McCants.
Well, that wouldn't be hard to do.
Rashad McCants I used to go to a lot of like dark years Timberwolves games and sit in that media row. It was like me and four other people because I had nothing to do, like college or whatever. And Rashad McCants would stand in the corner, clap his hands, like waiting for someone to throw him a pass. Somebody else would get the shot. He would slump his shoulders, roll his eyes, go back on defense, do nothing. But he has a podcast now, so good for Rashad McCants.
That's good.
You know, the best part too, or I should say the worst part, was early 90s Wolves before KG as well. But those were dark years that were like not surprising.
Well, you're like building your franchise. You
So
get like a free pass for some of that.
But with Mussy, you know, he was canned because he did win. He won more games than they wanted to at the time because they were trying to get draft picks. But then his replacement was a guy named Jimmy Rogers. And Jimmy Rogers that first year won like 10, 12 games or something.
Jimmy
Rogers, who
guy.
Former Celtics, a Casey Jones assistant. And so they're like, oh, we hijacked this guy from the Celtics. We're really going to show the NBA. It's like, no, you're terrible.
No, it's not going to. So let's make it happen. A Wolves historical, celebrate the worst
I feel
moments.
like it would have to be like a room, like a Timberwolves Woeful Hall of Fame room.
We'll workshop this. We'll present something to Mark and Alex and company.
I'm sure they'd love it.
All right, don't forget again, the new Flagrant Howls YouTube channel starting next week. If you're Apple, Spotify, thank you. 5-star rating, positive review to help us keep growing this thing. It won't change for you, but starting on Monday, the only place you can consume the YouTube edition of this show will be on the new Flagrant Howls YouTube channel. It's just youtube.com/@FlagrantHowls. Thank you guys. We'll see you next week. This is a Timberwolves lifestyle podcast.